This snowboarder right here drove 4 hours to go stand in a line just to go ride some powder. But I'm assuming that you clicked on this video because when you ride POW, it's not the most amazing experience that everyone else is having. So by the end of this video, I'm going to give you 5 tips to make your powder riding 10 times easier, and stay to the end because I'm going to give you my #1 tip to guarantee you have fun on a POW day. Tip #1 is your body position is the most critical thing on a powder day. Notice as I'm riding here, I do have a little bit of weight on my back foot, allowing me to keep the nose up so that I can float, but I am keeping my shoulder relatively pointed down the hill, allowing me to be in a strong athletic position. This does 2 things. It's going to allow me to make quicker turns so that I can just have fun and play around, but I'm also in a better athletic position to handle all the bumps and the wild, unexpected variables in the terrain. Notice how strong and stacked I am. Even though I'm like going up and down and there's snow falling everywhere, my goal is to be able to handle this, and having a strong body position is game changing. One of the most miserable experiences riding POW is when you lose all your momentum, you get stuck and fall over. So tip #2 is don't be ashamed of following somebody else's line like I'm doing here, because this will allow you to pick up speed, get through those flat spots, as well as give you time to figure out a plan of what's next. And as you see here, I'm starting to pick up a little bit of speed, and then I have the freedom to go make my own turns and create my own path. But don't forget about step #1, because you got to be prepared for anything, especially when it's covered in snow. Sometimes it's hard to see what's underneath. My dudes, I'm going to show you behind the scenes of how I filmed this entire POW video, and I am using the Insta360 X3. Now this thing has 2 really cool modes. One is the single lens mode, so if you got a friend or a filmer, you can literally get the shot. It's pretty awesome. But let's say that you're riding POW and they do say no friends on a POW day, I think is the statement. And so what I do is I turn this into 360 mode, so it's literally capturing everything. I extend the selfie stick, and then I just get the shot. And the goal is to not get the camera completely blasted with snow, so I tend to film with this camera in front of me, so you're getting that epic shot of the snow just spraying up at you. It's pretty iconic, but I'm also being able to capture all these really cool angles all by myself. And then after the fact, I can just upload it to my phone or my computer, choose exactly which way I want to export it, whether it's like vertical for Instagram or horizontal for YouTube videos. But then I'm able to literally get this whole entire thing shot by myself, which is pretty fantastic. And if you're looking to pick up one of these awesome cameras, check out the link down below, because the first 15 people are going to get 10% off, plus you get a free selfie stick and a snow bundle. So literally, it's a win-win-win. Click on the link down below to get your X3 and this special offer. Now, let's go back to riding some POW. Tip #3, and this might sound a little weird, but speed is absolutely your friend, and you have to be comfortable with pointing your nose down the hill and handling what's underneath. As you see here, I'm going pretty fast, and the nose of my snowboard wants to float, but I am riding a true twin camber snowboard, so this thing traditionally wants to sink like a submarine, but if you go fast enough, then it's going to be a lot easier to get that nose of the board to float. And with this speed, it's just like riding a bike. When I have momentum, it's going to be a lot easier to balance, but if I'm going really slow constantly, it's going to cause a lot more problems, and it's going to be a lot easier to fall over. So definitely let speed be your friend. It's inevitable at some point of the day you're going to end up on a busy run or a run directly underneath the chairlift. So my fun little life hack / tip 4 is go to the edge of the run, because you're more likely to find POW. Most people like to stay in the center of the run, and they're nervous to be along the tree line, but personally I find that to be the most fun. I do like to get pretty close to the trees sometimes, but in this video I have enough room and enough space to find some powder, so I'm definitely leaving a little bit more room for error. But go ahead and explore the edges of the run, and of course, if you're more comfortable, get close to the trees. If you're not, give yourself some room for error. Tip #5 is it is extremely important that you read the terrain. Whether that's you going to a grooming report, or you're finding where the steeper runs are, but wherever it is, you got to make sure that you're anticipating the terrain. So as I'm going here, notice that I'm keeping my board straight down the hill, because I know I cannot afford to do a slash. I cannot afford to make a bunch of turns, because I need to keep my speed up. So being able to read the conditions, read the terrain is extremely important. If I were to get a lot more speed, then yeah, I can have the flexibility to spray, but then also noticed that I did spray and went back onto the main trail so that I knew I would have plenty of speed. This area tends to be a bit flat, so I'm choosing strategically what I do. I'm going to dip into the snow just a little bit, have some fun, lose a little bit of speed, but then immediately getting on the main trail or a place that I know I'm going to be able to pick up my speed. Before we dive into the tip about guaranteeing an awesome day, let's quickly dive into how the heck am I going to ride trees while it's a powder day. While every single tip in this video applies to riding trees, the biggest difference is you have to be very strategic and execute your turns at a pretty proficient level, meaning that I can make turns big, small, fast, slow. I have the ability to execute those turns, especially when these trees do not move out of the way. But the other big challenge is that when we traditionally teach turns, I always talk about leaning on your front foot. But in this situation, you're going to lean more on your back foot, but I'm allowing my shoulders to be in an anticipatory position, meaning my shoulders are turning in the direction I'm going. I'm also using my hips to help turn as well. So the more that I can get my body to execute these turns in a backseat position, the better you're going to be. Now, when you first start out, I definitely recommend finding trees that are a little bit wider so it's less scary. But as you become more comfortable and confident, then yeah, dive into some stuff that's a little bit more tricky, just like I'm doing here. This is a really fun run that kind of dips in wide and it has a path, but then it gets tight, and then I can choose my own adventure of where I want to go. Notice that it's super bumpy. I'm actually going quite fast, but then I'm making these strategic turns. And I definitely recommend that you ride the same run over and over so that you can become familiar with the area, develop the skills, plus you can come back on the next powder day and absolutely crush it. To have the sickest day ever on POW, your equipment actually does matter. Now, let's start with some accessories. I am a big fan of staying warm, which allows me to stay out as much as possible. And if I'm miserably cold, of course, I'm going to go in. My body's not going to be responsive and it's not going to be a fun experience. My number one recommendation, if your feet are cold, is put your toe warmers on the top of your feet, which is going to help circulate blood flow, which of course is going to help keep your toes warm. But if you put your toe warmers on the bottom of your feet and you're snowboarding a lot, those toe warmers are going to crunch up. They're going to be super uncomfortable, and then you're going to go in anyways. After that, I definitely recommend that you have an awesome pair of goggles, just that are not going to fog. Check out shopbenetek.com if you're looking for a pair of goggles. But regardless of what goggles you have, you want some that are not going to fog, because being able to see is extremely important, especially in low visibility situations like this. So having goggles that are not fogging. One thing that you can do to prevent fog is make sure you dry them out completely the day before so that they're not super saturated or wet. If you happen to be foggy in the moment, one thing that you can do is take your goggles, put them in your armpit and help warm them up, which tends to help. It's not going to solve every problem, but it will help a little bit. After that, make sure you have a board that you're super comfortable and confident with so that you can ride to the best of your ability. Now, at the end of the day, the POW is only going to last so long, so you want a board that can handle those first 5 awesome runs, but the rest of the day is going to be super choppy, off-piste terrain, super gnarly, so make sure you have a board that can handle that as well. Well, I hope you dig the content, and definitely check out shopbenetek.com if you're looking for goggles, jackets, or any gear, as well as give this video a like, because my goal is to make you as awesome at snowboarding as possible. One of my favorite things about snowboarding is playing and vibing and hanging out with your friends, especially when you control them while going down a catwalk, because they have to keep up their speed and they have to follow you, so they're pretty much trapped. And of course, I'm not going to teach my buddy how to do it because I don't want him to do that to me. And definitely try this the next time you go snowboarding. Let me know in the comments if I should break this down, and follow for more.